Hello, Ellen.
Well, hello there, Trevor.
It's a very special day here at the table.
It is. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Yard to Table. And why is it special?
It's an anniversary episode. No, not a 10-year anniversary of Yard to Table, but a 12-year anniversary for you and I.
That's right.
It is our wedding anniversary.
June 1st.
Officially today.
It's pretty amazing. We've been together 14 years, married for 12.
That is also correct.
And why is that important to you, our dear listeners?
Well, they like us, and I think they want to know all of the details of our life.
Well,
maybe not all of them, but at least some of them.
I hope not all of them.
That'd be a lot.
That'd be a lot. But it's our anniversary, and our love story has a lot of synergy with a flower that's blooming right now. And that is
the mayapple.
No. Actually, maybe a fruit at this point, those
the mayapple may be fruiting at this point. That's true. So it's not the mayapple.
Box turtles are very happy.
We're cutting that one out entirely. It is your favorite season of all seasons.
It is.
It is Christmas. Not quite yet. That is a favorite season of yours.
I do love that very much. Yes.
It's peony season.
It's peony season.
That's right, friends.
Yes.
As the tulips fade and the mock peonies fade, we enter into Ellen's other favorite season, which is peony season.
Oh.
Which was very present at a wedding of a certain crafts wedding situation.
It was 12 years ago.
That's right.
Yes. Well, peonies have always been very traditional for weddings.
That's true.
It's a spring flower, late spring flower. And obviously, as we head into June, which is wedding season, brides and floral artists choose peonies because they're a beautiful, gorgeous, show-stopping end of spring flower. And you see them everywhere in bridal bouquets. And we had them at our wedding. We had the gorgeous coral peony that was in my bouquet, of course. It was very hot that day, so they were literally blooming.
They were exploding. Yeah, they were exploding.
It was 100 degrees.
Well, why do you like the peony outside of just getting married to me?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I know there's a lot to like about getting married to me, but
your shirt today is reminiscent of the coral peony.
Surprisingly,
Thank you,
it is a coral shirt. Unplanned. No one can see that, but that's fine. Is there more? What is it about the peony that you like so much? I don't think I've ever actually asked you. What is it about the shape, the color, the variety? What is it? Tell me.
Well, there's so many varieties of peonies, of course. And I think the thing that I was most drawn to was the one that I saw the most often prior to living here, for sure, and prior to my research since. But it's the big round, just showstopper flower with its frilly centers and beautiful petals. The smell is so gorgeous. You also know that I'm very drawn to things that are round
and happy.
And a peony.
Pumpkins. Bumblebees.
Snowmen.
Peonies.
Yes. I don't know. I have a thing. I don't know where it comes from, but obviously the peony starts out in this beautiful little marshmallow. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then it just continues to grow, but it's this bulbous riot of color and joy. And you cannot look at a bouquet and not feel happy. It is just joy in a vase or a bush or a tree, whatever. It is. It makes me happy.
This also works well for me later on in case I become just round and happy later on. I'll still be in good stead.
I'll love you now and forever, honey.
On this, our wedding anniversary.
That's right.
Everybody out there is going to be like, this is not the podcast that we signed up for. I thought this was a podcast about yards and gardens.
It's a love cast right now.
It's a love cast right now. This is a whole different piece of business. One of the things I think was so much fun about this yard that we are now inhabiting.
The yard of Stonebrook.
The yard of Stonebrook is...
Let's get it back to topic for the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There was so many peonies here. It was almost a sign. It wasn't almost a sign. It was a sign.
It was. And
Il segno.
As our story goes, you saw Stonebrook and we're like, yes. And I saw Stonebrook and I said, no.
True
obviously
story.
We live here.
Still a true story.
Our life continues. But one of the things that once I really realized so much of what was here, rows and rows of peony beds, mature peony beds. And we saw the property in February?
Early March, originally early March.
Obviously nothing blooming, snow on the ground.
Correct.
but I walked along those hedgerows, and I think there might have been an article about the host in like Cottages and Gardens.
Correct. There was a Connecticut Cottage and Gardens article that was done about Stonebrook a couple of years prior, or a year or so prior.
Right. So we got a glimpse of what obviously the gardens could be, but the rows and rows of peonies felt like kismet, fate.
I think the fun thing about a peony, especially these, which are these long, growing, very mature peonies, like you said, is that a peony can grow for 100 years.
Which is crazy. We're talking about a perennial.
Nuts. Those crowns can stay in the same pot and they can flower reliably for 100 years.
Which is so cool.
And maybe that's why it's a wedding flower, was because it can last and last and last. Oh, like we have lasted and lasted and lasted.
And we'll continue to. I mean, the history of the peony also is so deep. There is so much. Obviously, it goes back. It was native to Asia, Europe, and North America. But the deep roots, as it were.
Puns. Good puns.
Good puns. Goes back to Chinese culture. The peony flower, you see so much of this in symbolism. There's medicines that are made from peonies. There is anti-inflammatory properties that the peonies have that's been used in Chinese medicine. There's also another way that they use it for medicine that was for mood enhancement. And I mean, I just look at a peony and I feel better.
You don't actually need to take anything.
I don't.
You just look. It's a visual mood enhancer.
Yes.
And you don't want to, I mean, like eating anything too much, you're going to get sick.
That's true.
But they use little bits in
doses,
in all of these
yes.
specialty items that they make.
They bring joy from looking at them and obviously ingesting them. And, last year I had saved peony flower petals.
Oh, that's right. We saved all the petals last year for balms and
so I could make a salt scrub
and salts, and it was awesome.
Essential
Those are
oils,
great.
The smell, it's just so beautiful. So
I think that's the fun part about. You think when it's done, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
But if dried properly, all of the petals can be saved.
And the fragrance lasts.
The fragrance lasts and the color lasts.
Yes.
I think that's what I was so surprised about last
year. They were
year.
still hot pink.
Was they were very, very bright. They lost almost no color.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they went into the scrubs and other things that you made with them, all that color retained. It was amazing.
And the fragrance is just beyond. We were walking to the storage barn to do the recording, and we have to walk through, all literally on our property right now, all peonies are starting to just pop and explode. And the smell, I wish I could impart that to all of you over the...
We have not figured that out yet. Smell-o-vision has not...
Smell-o-listen?
Smell-o-listen.
But oh my gosh, the aroma of the big white, oh my goodness, they're just beautiful.
You can't even really talk about it.
I get emotional.
It's really gorgeous outside. I love how you said we had to walk through.
We did. They draw you in.
There was no option. There were no choices.
It's ridiculous, the amount of peonies that were here on the property. And of course, we knew nothing. We did a lot of research because we wanted to learn about what varieties we had on the property. We believe that at least some of these peonies were planted by Alice Delamar, the original owner and builder of Stonebrook, and have probably been supplemented by the various owners throughout the years of this history of this property. But most of the peonies on our property are herbaceous peonies. Mm-hmm. And we have 2 beds in the very back of the house along the pool deck that are what we believe are the John Van Leeuwen peony, which is this long-stemmed early bloomer, which has this gorgeous yellow frilly center, and the petals are a pale pink or white, and they just kind of cup that frilly center. They're gorgeous. We have 2 rows along the garden path that lead to the storage barn that are the same flower. And we also have some of these double white peonies that are just gorgeous. But then we have 2 upper tiers of the garden that are full rows of peonies. And they're a mix of white, which I think may be Festiva Maxima peony. They have flecks of red in the center and the little red in the stem. And then we have these beautiful, I'm pretty sure, both light and deep Sarah Bernhardt, which are those gorgeous double peonies, which are in that fuchsia and that pale pink. And they just ombre. I know, I get so excited. The ombre of the pink in the light pink is just, it's every shade of light pink that you could possibly imagine. It blows my mind.
And that's not the only kind. We also have some tree. We don't have a lot, but we have some tree peonies as
well. And
those
were like a total surprise, by the way.
Because for some reason, they didn't really bloom when we first got here. But then all of a sudden, this woody They called woodies. If you don't know the wood,
also known as
the tree peonies
woody
called
peonies.
woodies. They just exploded. These are probably ginjays. They're these bright yellow, red flecked. Saucer-sized peonies.
They're like a
huge.
bread plate.
They're gigantic.
They're
Almost too big. It's almost too much.
Well, and I think we think they're either ginjay or the Souvenir de Maxime Cornu, which I just love saying.
Souvenir de Maxime Cornu.
Oh, there's an accent.
It is French.
That's actually perfect. That's very nice.
Oh, oui.
But they're just unusual because they have a little yellow, little peach, this tinging around the frilly edges. They're gorgeous, and their stems are very heavy.
Oh my gosh, these things it's like a ball and chain. They need to be supported so well because they're so big and heavy. They just topple over.
And I had read about planting them. Do you want to put them somewhere high because the blooms tend to bend down because of the weight of them? Ours are sort of tucked away behind one of the boxwood X's. So it's like they're our first bloomers every year. They're the first ones to come out.
Except that first year.
Except that first year, we're like, we have no idea what this plant is. And now we have 4 of them that are just absolute showstoppers. And we have this beautiful vase that we bought from this incredible local potter team called Clay Story in Connecticut that actually worked perfectly for the flowers this year because you could cut very short stems. I could put 4 of them in this vase and they just created this mound of color. And the vase supported the tops really well because otherwise I've seen people cut them pretty much right under the flower and put them in like a bowl of water.
Yeah, a very shallow dish. Or
exactly.
Yeah.
They're very beautiful that way too.
It's funny because there's all the colors that we have.
Yes.
I'm sure you know this, but maybe not everybody knows this. There actually is no blue peony. It does not exist. There is every other shade, creams and yellows and your favorite corals, even purples, but there really isn't a blue peony.
Now, listeners, if you know of a blue peony, if we're wrong,
I think we're.
Do you feel pretty confident?
I've done the looking because I was thinking about our Stonebrook Blue.
Yeah.
And a way that we could sort of interconnect that with Stonebrook Blue. There is not a true blue peony.
No, not that I'm aware of. And the colors are so beautifully pale. There's like that gorgeous pastel-y grouping of different colors.
But they're super intense.
Yes. And, you've got the reds and the corals and the whites. They're the hot, beautiful. I'm drawn to the more bold colors, as you know.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
That's 12 years together. I'm just finding out that you like bold, big colors. If you could have a 9-foot picture of a painting of a peony, up close peony anywhere, you would say, yeah, it looks great.
I had this wonderful woodcut print that I just got of a peony too, right? That I have to get framed because I know my addiction is pictures of flowers.
It runs very, very deep.
I love it so much.
And I think one of the fun things we've mentioned in our inaugural podcast for this season that we're working on our scullery and we're building a whole area for you to cut and to store and to build and a flower fridge and all this. That now not quite ready yet.
No, unfortunately,
quite ready yet.
I know
we're
hard.
Close.
I'm so impatient.
We're not. I think we're just gonna miss it, but we might. Yeah, never can tell. Never can tell.
Yeah, we're not gonna. It won't help us this year. But care and keeping of peonies and how you can extend your peony season is something that we have done a lot of research and continue to do. I mean, peonies have done. Peonies are hardy for the most part. I mean, they come back. They're a perennial, which is, and with their longevity, that's an incredibly beautiful addition to your garden that is, there's maintenance. That's the piece that they're easy to catch for certain areas, to catch a fungus. We have been very vigilant, particularly this year, around applying copper fungicide before they bloom, before they even come up from the ground. When you start to see those little tips starting to come up through the soil, little red tips, you want to start applying every 2 weeks copper fungicide.
Or after it rains.
Because
once it's gone from the rain. And
that's right.
I will say that we have struggled a lot over our years here trying to control botrytis blight, trying to control powdery mildew, black spot. It's been a journey.
Yes.
And I will knock on wood.
I know it feels
that we've maybe turned a corner.
I don't know.
But
at least this season.
We've also had a lot of work where we haven't added a lot of mulch. I think
That's
our
a really
first
important
season
part.
here,
Yes.
we put a lot of unknown mulch into our beds.
And they don't like the mulch.
All the peonies beds, outside of the fact they don't like the mulch, truly, we don't know where it came from.
That's right.
So it could have been full of a bunch of garbage. We could have done it to ourselves.
Yes.
But they don't like a lot of mulch. They like dirt and just plain open space.
Clean.
Gives a lot of ability to move around a little bit more and have air. Air circulation is, for all kinds of fungus, is always super important to have that kind of airplay and airflow. So you don't want anything too densely packed. But it can get tricky because those crowns blooming year after year and growing year after year, you can get a very dense group of foliage.
The density is beautiful. But also, because they are so dense and the stalks are so long and the flowers so heavy, staking is critically important.
Yeah, it's super important.
Peonies. And we've gone through some staking.
No, we do stake, and I'm not a huge...
Different trial and error methods we've had.
I'm not a huge fan of our stakes.
No.
Personally, I just don't think they have enough robustness to them.
You know whose does?
Who?
Oh, the grand dame of all things garden, Ms. Martha Stewart.
Yeah, those Martha Stewart.
Every year she posts those pictures.
Those steaks.
Oh.
I'm not talking about the cow kind. She has these double curly Q amazing steaks that have two literal flip arounds, one in the mid and one in the top. They've got to be They're least tall. 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall. She gives away
no secrets. None. They're custom to her.
None. They're custom done. And then they create this perfect triangular pattern.
It's like a hexagon almost.
Correct.
Because you stake them every, foot really. I think it's maybe
6 triangles make a hexagon.
That's right.
So triangular patterns.
I wasn't doubting you in any way. I was saying it how I saw it.
But they are
marriage people.
That's right.
But the way that because of those lovely little double loops, she gets that 2-prong support, and then the wire gets
keep talking.
Twined,
make it worse.
Gets crisscrossed, and they provide such beautiful support. She's got a lot of peonies too, by the way.
Yeah, obviously no shakes to Martha, but we have a lot of peonies also.
We do, but those steaks are, honey. Are you going to go?
I should do the forge.
Are you going to make them?
I should make them. I need to make them because we can't find them anywhere.
We can't.
They don't exist commercially.
Bespoke Stonebrook peony steaks,
and they're not hard to do.
That's what I've heard.
But obviously they take some effort and some forging and some hammering and some things like that. So that's all important stuff. But I think we could probably get into it.
If you're not into making your own bespoke peony steaks, there's a lot of options. Some people do rings. I think the staking is the best if you have a long row, especially because that crisscross method, which is not as good as Martha's, the one that we've got going, whose are, quite frankly. They provide the support that these big flowers really need.
They really need the structure. Yeah. They need the support.
Right. And you can split peonies in the fall. Dividing can happen in the fall. But if we really talk about how you get them from the beginning, you're right. Soil is always key. Ensuring you have clean soil, organic soil. Obviously, everything we do here is organic, pesticide-free. You start immediately with the copper fungicide. When you start to see those tips coming out of the soil, also do it again, reapply when it rains, but it's about every 2 weeks. And then they start to come up and they're looking glorious, and you start to see those buds on there. Now, for all of them, this is always a very hard decision that I have to make, which is removing buds. I have that problem with all flowers. We know that when
it's almost sacrilegious for you.
It is.
It's a real violation
I have that problem
of terms.
like thinning radishes and carrots. It's like the wasting of the thing. Let it grow. But with peonies, they are heavy flower. Yeah. And the Jan Van Leeuwens that are in our path and are in the back of the house, they are a very strong stem that they have. And the main flower is so big and beautiful, but we'll get a lot of side buds, and they also can get pretty big. Now, if you start to snap those off as they grow, it actually puts more strength and energy into the main flower. It's your choice. I'm not pushing you. You make your decisions, but I've been trying, particularly with those flowers, to get those little buds off the side as they're growing. Again, it's up to you. No mulch. And then once you bloom, after that season's done, you cut those off. And then in the fall, we cut them all the way down.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it Jan or is it Jan?
Oh, it's probably Jan.
I would imagine it's Jan. I agree with everything you said prior to that, by the way.
It's got to be Dutch, right?
Curious.
So it has to be
it
a
kind of
Jan.
has to be a Jan.
Jan van Leeuwen.
Yeah.
You going to do a Dutch accent?
No, I'm not.
Okay, thank you.
But
Is that just because you can't?
Wow. That's a real throwdown. Wow.
12 years married,
there
14
it is.
together.
There it is, friends. Wow. Yeah. Well, next episode, I will do an entirely Dutch accent episode from the top to the bottom.
I apologize to everyone.
And it will be amazing.
I apologize to everyone. But here's the other fun part about peonies, which again, I just started experimenting with last year and why I'm very excited for a flower fridge. But you can do this with any refrigerator, really, that you can keep them for up to 3 months if you can cut during the marshmallow stage. Now
that's the critical part.
Exactly.
Too early, and it's kind of like, oh, wait, is it right now? Is it next week? Is it now? Is it some of this? Like we always say, requires experimentation
and constant watching. Really, because you could not have a marshmallow in the morning and then at night it could turn into a marshmallow. Well, what is a marshmallow? Well, it's really when you start to see the color emerging in the bud. And it's probably, depending on the variety, the size of a ping pong ball, maybe a little bit smaller. And it has a squishy quality to it. So it really has the feeling of marshmallow texture.
And you definitely can see color.
Yes, you have to see color. If it's hard,
right,
and that color has not emerged, then it's not a marshmallow. But if you do see that, then you cut the stem. I recommend kind of taking the leaves off, so stripping the leaves from the stem. You can wrap up those. Some people use, I hate using plastic because we're always trying to reduce our single-use plastics. You could probably wrap up in floral paper, or you throw them in the fridge. Just stack them on top of each other as they are. And some say you can keep them up to 3 months. All you do, if you want to use them, bring them out of the fridge, obviously recut stems, hydrate them in water, bloom. And they'll last for about a week. Yeah,
there's few other plants that we have that you can say the same thing for.
Totally.
That you can keep it effectively for months and months and months and months. And that all of a sudden then, boop, it looks just like it was first.
And I can't wait once we have the flower fridge, right? We have no storage for anything. So I'm going to try to do this with some, and I'm going to try to put them in the basement in the cooling side and maybe down in that little party fridge we have. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm interested to see what varieties last longer than others. And since we have so many different varieties, and then trying it at a month, trying it at 2 months, 3 months to see how the bloom goes. But that's pretty incredible. I mean, we tried a little bit of that with tulips this year. They don't last as long in the storage part of it, but that's another flower that you can extend your season by doing some of these techniques. But peonies, to have peonies through August, that'd be amazing.
And if you were able to grow an actual marshmallow.
Yes.
That would also be amazing.
Our child would be very happy.
That would be the whole. She'd never leave
Gardens
that plant.
would take on a whole new level of interest for her.
I think one other thing about that you often see when you do see the marshmallows, both real marshmallows and peony marshmallows, there's also a lot of ants usually on them. And I find that whole discussion very interesting.
Lots of scuttlebutt about the ants and the peonies.
There has been a long, old standing myth. Ants were required for a peony to bloom.
I've heard that. I've seen it on the forums. I've read it on the forums.
Don't believe what you see on the internet.
Double check.
We're done with that.
Although I have to say, I enjoy Connecticut gardeners so much. This is the time of year where everything is a screenshot of something green.
That's right.
With the caption, "What is this?" It's my favorite.
And do I need to get rid of these ants? Yeah. Are these ants harming my peony?
Right.
Are these ants exactly what I need?
Yep.
But it is 100% not a bad thing to have ants on your peonies. They are not required. There is no need to have.
Why is it okay to have ants on your peonies?
It's a mutually beneficial relationship. It's called biological mutualism.
Really? So what do the peonies do for the ants and the ants for the peonies?
Oh, I'm so glad that you asked me that question.
Please tell us more, Trevor.
As an amateur entomologist, I am more than happy to answer these ant-related questions.
And I love insects so much.
Yeah, they're your most favorite, especially spiders. It's essentially like any symbiotic relationship.
I have to say really quickly that I flicked the spider off a peony this morning with my fingers. I flicked it off. That was very brave of me.
A gentle flick.
It was a gentle flick.
But still
It wasn't a crush.
No, that's very true.
I know that they do good things.
They do wonderful things.
I just don't want them near me. Sorry, I digress.
I am proud of you on this, our wedding day, to actually have physically allowed a spider to touch your body in any part.
Thank you. Yeah. I was proud of myself. Go ahead.
It's a big day for a lot of reasons.
Yes. Teach me about ants. Go ahead.
No, essentially, it's just the ants will help to keep aphids and other harmful insects off of the peony while it's starting to bloom. And then the ants also benefit from some of the sugar that comes out of the bloom, and they feed off of that nectar that comes off of the blooms. You often see sort of like a sticky, sugary substance that comes
100%
along with it. But yes, it is biological mutualism.
This is the good stuff.
Totally
right?
the good
so
stuff.
We mess with it. We use pesticides. The ants don't come. We ruin our soils. We all have wells here in Weston.
Yeah. And I think that is sort of, as you think about insects and pests that naturally occur on most plants, it's usually not a positive.
Or we tend to think of it that way.
We tend to think of it not as a positive.
And we need to do a little more research.
There's thrips, there's cucumber beetles, there's the list goes on and on of insects that are trying to eat the very thing that you're trying to grow. But in this case, the ants are incredibly beneficial. If you don't have ants on your peonies are going to be fine. Everything's going to open, no problem at all.
But you don't need them for them to bloom.
That's what I said. Yeah,
right.
They're going to open just fine.
We're stating an opinion.
No, we're stating a fact.
We're stating a fact.
This is fact, yard to fact, fact to table to yards.
Fact to yard to table.
Happening. Your peonies will open whether or not you have ants. If you have ants in your kitchen, your peonies will still open. These are totally exclusive of each other.
Yeah, that feels weird.
But they do the ants get that high energy food source, and the plant doesn't have as much damage. It's a good thing.
That is a good thing. And I know this is a flower too that people are always so excited about and nervous at the same time. But really, and we're talking about a lot of care items, but it really is an easy grower. And it may take a little while. And I think that's where I think we're so used to everything being fast.
Yes.
Tree peonies, we didn't plant them, but we didn't know what they were. They didn't bloom, but it took a while. So they may have been planted more recently.
Later on, but
or they were not
just had a rough time
getting what they needed.
Yeah.
But they will show eventually, and they're glorious.
Yeah, they're all pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, there's another reason why we like peonies.
Oh, I know.
In this family, in this household.
It was another one of those cool things. Listen, I think we all can relate. When you fall in love, there are things that you are so excited to learn about each other, things that you have in common. Like, I like water. I like water too.
I love water. Oh my God, you
best.
love air? Oh, air is my favorite.
And we had a lot of those moments. We had a lot of fun things, though, that were real, true.
Kismet.
Yes, kismet.
Connection points
I love
we
that.
were
yes.
very surprised about.
Yes, and this one was around peonies.
Big one. Yeah.
Well, it was around, actually, first, like your great-grandmom's birthday.
That's right. My great-grandmother, Jessie Spray Crafts.
Has my birthday.
You guys share a birthday, which was pretty cool. And
bizarre.
My dad had mentioned that when we all first met and somehow got on the topics of birthdays. And he said, oh, my grandmother had the same March 21st.
Which was
a lot of fun.
It was really, really cool. And then
I started thinking about this book that my great grandmother had written. She wrote a lot of poems in her life.
Poems, yeah.
And her son, my grandfather, James, illustrated that book, and they had it published by a little press in Ohio. And a lot of these were sort of like life stories of the time when she was growing up in the
farm in Ohio.
And it's very
being
bucolic,
a mother.
but there's a lot of subjects in here, and there's some on Thanksgiving and there's some on harvest, and it was interesting connection points. But there was one called A Peony Match, which was a fantastic little poem, which actually was read at our wedding.
Yes.
Ellen, would you read that poem for everyone? Because it's a good one.
I would love to. It's one of my favorites. Peony Match by Jessie Spray Crafts. The garden's in tune for a wedding in June of peonies planted last fall. White bride and red bridegroom, all budded. He's tall and handsome, and she small but luxuriant, in petal-down satin of white edged with rose. She will be a most beautiful sight, with her shower bouquet of white moths with jeweled eyes and a diamond or two. It all depends on the day. The catbird will sing. He's singing right now, if his nestlings don't hatch before then. If they do, duty first. It can easily be by the wren. A little ash tree, a new member he, who plans in the garden to grow, will officiate then. He'll shadow the pair, unless he's called elsewhere, I know. And the iris in purple, the iris in gold, the bleeding heart weeping with pink, lemon lilies galore, and a wasp and bee score will be the procession, I think.
That's such a good one.
What I love, I'm looking at this beautiful illustration that your grandfather made, and we have all of these flowers.
We really do.
In our garden.
I haven't heard it in a while.
The bleeding heart is the one that we need to add as I look at this, but it's...
We've got the irises in both purple and blue and
lemon
gold.
Lilies.
Got those.
And those are in the cold frame, so I love that because they're the older flowers that we don't touch that have been here for literally
forever.
Since Alice.
Yeah.
And it's just such a beautiful image of this red and white peony getting married in the garden. And we got married in a garden.
We did.
It's a great memory.
We've spent so much time here building this new garden, working on our yards and creating this amazing space. But hearing that, you realize that we've actually been cultivating this delicious life of ours since the beginning. And it's all been kind of leading us to this place.
I know, as I was saying it, I realized we did get married in a garden, literally the kitchen garden for the chef who cooked our wedding banquet.
Yeah.
Was all around us.
Yeah.
And this is so the essence of who we are as a couple 12 years later.
That's right.
And what we continue to do. And we're so grateful for you listening and letting us share this because this has been really fun. Because the other thing about the peony, my love, is that it symbolizes also a 12th anniversary.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
I love doing this with you.
Me too.
Thanks for being with us and having a seat at our table.
Yard to Table is a production of Macrocosm Entertainment. Don't forget to rate us and subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And for tips and more information, follow us on Instagram at Stonebrook House.